get the string going. Do a little Bootsy Collins, little Bootsy's rubber band. I'd rather be with you. I want you 7-6. As you can see, we have our friend Lyle Brewer with us from Neighbor. Just brought some tracks. Feel free to get some questions lined up. If you want to play him something, jump in. I know we've been on a little bit of a hiatus here, but it's a new year.
Yes.
We're happy to be live streaming.
Oh, I'd just like to say that's
See you in a second.
Long time. I know you might think I'm trying to be funny, baby. I'm really serious.
Bluebird, good to see you. Brian?
It's a cold, cold world, baby. I'd really rather be with you, man. Let me just take my time, baby.
All right. Lyle, how you doing, man?
I'm doing all right, man. Hey, great to see you, and thanks for having me on the show.
Absolutely. Everybody says volume Michael. Is that my mic, Lyle's mic, or everybody? We'll get it set up real quick here. Turn me up. Check. How's it sound, everybody? Everybody says turn your mic up. Mike, turn your mic up. Okay. Lyle, can you say something real quick so we know it's...
Absolutely. Can y'all hear what I'm saying?
Check now.
Everybody good?
Check. That should be better right there. It's good now. Okay. All right. Okay.
Cool. Excellent.
Well, Lyle, we've been talking about doing this for a minute, man.
Yeah,
So
I know, man.
I know. Well,
I'm glad it finally. I don't know. I'm glad we're actually on the internet. Now. So.
dude, tell me about it. Everybody out there watching, I hope you had a great New Year, great Christmas, Hanukkah, whatever you celebrate out there. I know we haven't live streamed in a little bit, but I've been really looking forward to this one. Lyle, you're one of those guys. We talked a little bit about this off camera, where my close friends on the internet, like all the guitar players and like people in the industry that I kind of look up to and talk to all the time, they always bring your name up. And like Jason Shadrick from Premier Guitar, he was like probably the first one that turned me on to you. And cool. he was like, dude, don't sleep on Lyle up there in Boston, man. He goes, go just check out his Instagram page. And you're one of those guys where one day it's this super slick jazz thing, and the next day it's the pedal steel chicken picking thing, and it's just so many different genres and styles and vibes and tones that I feel like you're really, really good at doing. And it's so many of us try so hard to get really good at like one thing. And I'm always so fascinated by players like yourself that tend or that can easily flow in between like a stone cold country setting to a jazz gig to like a funk thing, and seem to have all the vocabulary there. So I'm just stoked to have you on here. I just want you to know that I'm a fan, man.
Oh man, well, thank you so much for saying that, man. I really appreciate that. Yeah, it's it's been interesting with Instagram. Like I don't know. I think I used to kind of maybe be like self-conscious about like not kind of sticking to one thing.
Yeah.
But then I don't know. I think I realized maybe 5 or 6 years ago that like following the muse is like it's super important. And it's supposed to be a fun, joyous, experience where you listen to music and you love music. And, I feel like just like as a fan of playing guitar,
yeah,
I never really bought into like, well, I'm supposed to do this. So that's what I'm going to do. And I think I used to have some of those feelings like when I was in college. I would say, okay, I'm gonna play a hollow body and I'm gonna use gauge 12 strings, and I'm never gonna bend another string because I'm just gonna be playing straight ahead jazz.
Yeah.
But then man, it's like I'll play jazz for a couple months, and then all of a sudden I just get this like but I kind of want to like I kind of want to like step on an overdrive pedal and
Yeah.
you know, and play with tens. And I just kind of found that like, you know, if like as long as I stay excited about music and then I have a vehicle to express myself, I find that a lot of that stuff like ends up getting sorted out anyway.
Yeah.
You know, like I don't know, like I've never kind of felt like, you know, I never felt like I was like groomed to be a certain way, whether that's like a rock player or a country player or a jazz player. And like an Instagram's a cool way to just like document, you know, it's basically just like whatever I'm working on that day. And like I never really think like, you know, I'm gonna get good at this one thing so I can, you know, get these gigs, or this is gonna do that for my career. I just think like, well, I just want to like play guitar and have fun.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like the best thing that I just kind of realize like that's like the best thing that I can kind of do for my career is like figure out what I like to do and try to just like have fun playing guitar, man. And it's like the older I get and the more kind of like professional everything gets.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
it just seems like the, you know, just you get older and you have a family and kids and like the stakes get kind of high.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's like it's still just playing guitar, man. You know, and I want to make it fun.
I could not agree more with that sentiment. I mean, yeah, you're right. The stakes do get higher. You know, you have more responsibility. It changes when you enter a truly professional arena instead of just a hobby or the reason you picked it up, excuse me, in the first place. But
Yeah.
I actively try to get back to that place constantly. You know,
Right.
when I'm so serious, I play all the same stuff. You know what I mean? I don't. It's I love trying to in my brain like trying to get back to that young adolescent spot where everything is new and open, and not always look through a lens that's becoming more and more calloused as I get older. You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And-
That's a super important. It's a super important thing, man. It's like I've been doing this thing recently where I'm purposely trying not to over practice, and I've had a lot of kind of periods in my life where I the whole kind of the very like kind of strict and regimented way of learning anything, you know, it like it becomes very attractive and appealing, but I'm not really. I'm kind of like realizing that like if I just kind of pick up the guitar and just try to find something that I think sounds cool,
Yeah.
it's like I get the same amount done if I go, okay, I'm gonna wake up at 6 a.m. and I'm gonna drink like 4 raw eggs and do like and it's like I try to like, you know, and like, you know, treat my, you know, it's like I'm not in the army, like I'm a guitar player,
Yeah.
and in order to play guitar and have it, it's supposed to sound like it's fun,
Yeah. No.
and that's like it's hard to kind of maintain that as you get older, man.
That's absolutely true.
So
Well, I want to take the opportunity right here to just say, excuse me, we have a new mod with us, Mr. Tonic Amps. Thank you so much for all you do. I just kind of hit the wrench button. I didn't want to interrupt Lyle there. But thank you so much. And thank you to all the mods out there that make this a super safe, super positive, and super fun spot. So as I kind of told you off air, I kind of like to, instead of just asking all the specific questions that everybody asks of how'd you get started playing and where are you from and what's going on, I kind of like to ask people to tell it through some live tracks, through some performances, and kind of talk about maybe it's your influences or what you're kind of working on now, but so we can kind of get to know you through some of the music and some of the players that you dig. So you sent me 4. So I don't know where you want to start and which one, but pick one and tell us why, and then we'll maybe take a question and go from there.
sure. maybe we'll start with you want to do that Clavine one, the sounds one?
Sounds. All right, let me
Yeah.
pull it up here.
Sure.
And while I'm pulling it up, you can kind of explain why you picked this one.
Sure. So one of my favorite guitar players is this guy named Duke Levine. He's been a guitar. He's been a huge influence of mine. And in this video, he kind of talks about all the different sounds that he can get out of like an electric guitar.
Okay.
Like he talks a lot about how the different pickups or the way he attacks the instrument will inform the musical decisions that he makes. And I think something that is kind of a common trait that Duke and I have, or like at least like a trait that like I aspire to have, is that the different kind of tonal choices that I might make are only designed to really kind of make the music have more, I guess, either meaning or impact. And it's really interesting to see him kind of, be inspired musically by the different sounds that he can get out of his guitar.
Love it. All right, so this is, are we starting right at the beginning? This is 6 minutes, 54 seconds here.
Yeah, sure.
Are we just letting it play? You let me know if we want to cut it early or jump. There are no
great.
rules here.
Yeah, we could go from the beginning, and I think maybe we could go to like 3 minutes or so.
All right, let's do it.
All right.
I respond to sound a lot too, so playing electric guitar, I can sometimes rely on a sound to just inspire me to get in a direction, whether it's an effect or some kind of weird sound, or maybe some kind of totally dry, bare bones sound. That really helps me. I respond to that, and I've spent a lot of time trying to make the electric guitar sound good to my ear. I will gravitate towards certain things, and I know it, and I sometimes there's just no way around it, but you do try to hope for some kind of true improvisation, even on a pop song where you just kind of hit on something else you haven't done before.
Well, since we're talking about it, can you just show us like some sounds that you like, some different kind of sounds?
Yeah. So we can start just basic sound of an electric guitar through an amplifier with a little reverb. Which I enjoy that. There's a couple different pickups. You can get a lot out of just this. Different pickups. There's two pickups, one here and one here, and this one sounds bright. This one sounds mellower. And in the middle it sounds like this. That's both of them. There's a tone control too. There's a volume control. And then, so that's just the controls and the pickup switch. But you could tell, like, whatever I did, it kind of steered me in a direction. Like the bright thing, it doesn't have to, but the bright thing kind of steers me in a little twangier thing. This thing kind of steers me in a prettier kind of mellow. Just the sound of it. And this, they can obviously all do either of the above, but and there's all that, and before you even get to any effects or anything, there's so many ways to attack the strings in the guitar, it's not even funny. I like to try to make the thing sound like another instrument. That's one way of just kind of see if you can. Or just, I'm playing with a pick now, there's a certain, I can play with my fingers and it'd be like, vibrato thing on the. Just kind of like marimba-ish, you know, like. It's kind of cool. There's a kind of just if I play near the bridge. This is so many. That's just a couple examples, but there's so much to get out of the thing without messing with any pedals or anything. I happen to like tremolo a lot, so there's that kind of, to me, that instantly kind of.
Yeah, dude, it's such a great example. As soon as you jump to a different pickup or different whatever, the licks change. It all kind of changes. That's such a basic concept that we often overlook.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it kind of feels like I feel like the amount of things you can get out of, you know, what's often referred to as like the most basic electric guitar.
Yeah.
You know, when someone's like, oh yeah, like, you know, the Telecaster is the most, you know, kind of straight.
2x4. Yeah, it's just a piece of wood. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a super simple guitar. I'm like, I don't know, man. I mean, like, you know, for something that's that simple, like I've been playing like kind of in the same key, like on the same kinds of guitars for like, you know, years and years and years, and I'm still like screwing around in the key of E.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like I feel like there's a lot that you can get out of, you know, just get out of the instrument like without like I feel like the decisions you kind of make at the ground level, you know, which is the instrument, like those end up being way more important than like, do you have a Zen drive or do you have a tube screamer or do you have a Strymon or do you have, you know, it's like it really, what matters is like which kind of part of the instrument you're using, and then, you know, both with like what's picking up the sound and then where on the instrument you're playing and how hard you're playing it.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, it's like that's gonna end up affecting the way your guitar sounds, like way more than like what year your deluxe is or like, you know, something like that. So like I have like you know, like I end up switching between my pickups constantly. I'm always riding the volume knob. I'm always riding the tone knob. And as far as like overdrive pedals, like I have one or two, and if it's on, I kind of keep it on the whole song. You know, and it's like I've never really been one of those guys, you know, to use a bunch of different pedals. It's kind of been like I have my delay, and I have my drive, and I have my trem, and that's kind of it.
Yeah. I mean, I dig it. If you keep it simple, it makes you focus on this more.
Yeah, I have found that if I put more than like 5 or 6 things on my board, then I start thinking about which thing I'm going to step on rather than what I'm going to play.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's not like a knock on effects. That's just the way that I feel most comfortable playing.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Vandy, how's it going, brother? Hope you're doing well. So we have a couple people in the chat. Both Chaz and Michael are going to see you this week. Where are you playing,
awesome. Man? We're playing up in Portsmouth, New Hampshire. We're playing at the press room. We're playing at the press room tomorrow and Thursday, and then we're playing in Pembroke, Mass, on Saturday at Check Studios.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Very cool. Jay Buchanan, thanks for the donation. Thanks for the 5. He says, I'd love to see you do a show with Johnny Highland. Man, yeah. I would too. I love Johnny Highland. Have you ever seen Johnny or met Johnny?
I've only seen him like on YouTube, but man, like he's great.
He is great. When I went to GIT in California, he came through twice and did master classes. and he's unbelievable, man.
Yeah.
Those guys. I mean, those guys that just come up in that Nashville kind of circuit. They live and breathe that stuff, man. And I'm endlessly amazed at how many people, especially now that I've gotten to know some through this internet thing, have gone through the exact same circuit, like through the exact same band at the same bar in Nashville.
Oh yeah, like the
Roberts.
Yeah.
Like
yeah, because it's who? It's Guthrie.
you got
Guthrie Trapp did
Guthrie
it.
Trapp. You have Daniel Donato. You have
Brent
Mason.
Mason did it. Yep.
Yeah, I mean you
Yeah,
have
that's wild.
and the young guy doing it now, Luke McQuarrie, is awesome. Do you know about Luke?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And there's even more. The list goes on and on. Anyway, it's just fascinating. But Johnny Highland did that gig for a little bit, I believe.
Yeah.
All right. So, Jay Buchanan says I can get you his info. Hey. Well, Jay, if you want to email me, I can shoot it to Lyle, and if he's interested, you can connect. Let's see. Well, I'll tell you what, Lyle, let's just jump into the next one here. Anybody have any questions for Lyle or anything you want to throw out here or anything you want to play for him, feel free to drop it in the chat. And mods, do what you do best. Try to get me to see it. Try to get my attention.
Cool.
Yeah. Let's go.
Do you want to watch that Wes Montgomery one?
Sure. Let me fire it up here.
Yeah.
All right. So while I'm pulling this up, tell us about this one.
Sure. So I pulled this pulled up this version of Wes Montgomery playing this Thelonious Monk song. I find it's like I think one of the hardest things to do when you're trying to play over like a complicated tune is make it sound like it's still music and it's not an exercise.
Yeah.
And I think something that I think about a lot is like I want, when I'm playing over like a one chord thing or playing over a blues, I want to have enough kind of facility over whatever the chord changes are, where I still feel like I'm playing over like a one chord thing. And you
that's
know, I
the
think,
dream right there.
Yeah, and I think that it's like, I used to kind of think that it was like, it was all kind of like a technical thing. I thought that like if I kind of solved every technical problem, then I would all of a sudden sound like I really understood the music. And I think as I kind of continued to practice, I found that like you also have to really kind of like have the right intentions, And I found that like trying to keep it playful and fun and remind myself that like just because it's jazz doesn't mean it's not music. And it's so I just kind of realized like the more I embrace being soulful and not being afraid to be bluesy, and also just like just trying to have fun while playing, the better it sounded. And I think it was kind of through watching Wes play this tune, and it's a hard song to play. You listen to him play it, and it sounds like he's playing over like an A minor vamp. Yeah. So that's kind of how I aspire to play.
No, I love that. Easier said than done, man.
Oh yeah,
I mean, I know I'm speaking for a lot of us when I say that. I still get hung up in basic 1-4-5s all the time, and get turned around and even adding, and I've been working on that forever, and just anytime you add any level of complexity, like you have to go through, you got to hash it out for a long time until you can really just flow over it and get to that place where you're not thinking through it, and you can have
Yeah.
fun with it. That it really takes a lot of reps.
Yeah, I mean, something I say to my students a lot is, playing music. It's like being on like the most fun ride that you could ever go on, but like you have to build the ride, So it's like, imagine like going to an amusement park and they hand you a hammer and they're like, all right, you have to build this thing,
Yeah,
and then once you do it, then you get to like fully participate.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah. Right.
All right. So, am I starting this from the beginning?
If you wouldn't mind, sure.
Sure. And just give me a little wave when we're through it. I mean, we can go as long as you want. This is
Okay.
West Montgomery, Round Midnight. I don't know the year, but
I think it's like 1963, maybe.
okay. Here we go. That bass sounds amazing.
Something he also doesn't do. He's not like this.
Say that again.
Something that Wes isn't doing. He's not like staring at his guitar. He's like, he's
Listening.
yeah, he's looking at all the guys, smiling, having a good time.
Thank you, Lance. That's right, beware. Yeah, he's having Well, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. This little Wes Montgomery doing some Round Midnight.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, you're
Man, I
so
could listen
right.
to that all day.
Yeah, you're so right. He's just floating, man. He's having a good time. He's happy. You're not
Yeah.
doing this, being super cerebral. He's got a smile on his face,
Yeah.
playing over a bunch of changes.
Yeah, and I think he kind of I think he embraces the fact that like anything complicated that he might do, he understands that it has to be kind of in balance with things that are more straightforward.
Yeah.
And I think he kind of it's almost like he has something that I think about a lot when I'm playing is I try to kind of have ideas like communicate to themselves, and I try not to have it be like you know I play something and then someone in the band has to play something and
Right.
I play another thing. I sometimes think okay, if if I do something down here, maybe the right response to that would just be something simple like play the same thing up here, or
Yeah.
if I play a bunch of staccato notes, maybe play a long note. If I play something that's really outside, maybe right after it I'll play something that's super inside. And it's like,
Yeah. Yep.
like, and I think just kind of like being aware of that is important.
Absolutely. Well, on that note, let's take some questions because I saw a couple pop up here for you. So, McConra, thank you for the donation. Really appreciate. Says Lyle, love the versatility. I do too. How'd you learn
Thanks,
to
man.
infuse jazz and country into your playing? For example, when you're playing over some changes.
Yeah. So how did you learn to infuse jazz and country into your playing? I think it was, I think at first there's a certain like cutting and pasting part of it where, even if something like maybe doesn't make the most musical sense, or if it doesn't, kind of, if it's not directly in your ear, I think there's a certain point where you have to say, okay, over a dominant 7 chord, I could play like a major scale with a flat 7.
Right.
So like I think at first it's just going, okay, this is the chord and this is the scale. So I think, just the further along with your playing you get, it's not like that process really changes. It's just using different mechanisms to kind of, get the same place. You could say, okay, well, yeah, I could play a Mixolydian, but I could also play it with a flat 5. So,
Yeah.
if I hear this chord, I could play, okay. So then you get stuff like, so it's like, it's not really that is a different process than going, okay, yeah, I can go. Now I'm just flatting the 5.
Yeah.
So, if you kind of take that same approach to kind of like, whether it's like country bands or steel bands or whatever, you could say like, say, okay, that's just kind of playing, 2 notes in the Mixolydian scale.
Right.
Okay. Well, if I
Yeah.
add chromaticism, well, these are the same shape,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah,
these
yeah.
are the same shape too. Yeah, exactly. Right.
Yeah.
So I think once you kind of you know, figure out, kind of some of those kind of, standard kind of classic, pieces of vocabulary, I kind of do what I've always done, like I'm just trying to, kind of take the standard vocabulary, put it in a familiar musical context, whether
Yeah.
that's a one chord thing or like a 12-bar blues. And I'm trying to make it kind of, well, like at first, I'm just trying to play it to get it in my ear to even see what it sounds like.
Well,
know?
so my question to that is, and I think
Yeah.
this is what they're referring to, like when we watch you play and we see your Instagram, like it's very versatile. Like I said in the beginning, a bunch of different genres, but it isn't overly technical or chops or whatever. It's a lot of vocabulary. Like when I
Yeah.
watch what you play here, like it's a lot of what I guess you would just call the classic or traditional vocabulary for that genre. And I think what maybe might seem obvious isn't obvious, meaning what is that obvious vocabulary that you speak of? You know what I mean? Like what?
Yeah.
Like, because it's so easy to say, yeah, we add the flat five, we can chromaticize this, that, or the other, but it's like, where do we start with that? Now, so for me, like, I've always struggled with jazz vocabulary, like my whole life, and I still don't know where to start, like to find like quintessential jazz vocabulary. I don't have that problem with other genres, but so like when I read that question, that's kind of what I'm thinking. Is like, where you get what I'm trying to say? I'm kind of tripping over my words, but yeah.
Yeah. I mean, one of the things that trying to play jazz really taught me is how much of a drag it is to not feel like you're doing the real thing.
Yes.
And I think it like,
Yes.
and I wasted a lot of time, I think, in the beginning trying to kind of like pretend like I was further along than I actually was.
Yeah.
Like when I got into it and I was in college, I was trying to play like complicated tunes that had a lot of like, really dense sounding chords, and I wanted to kind of prove that I could do it.
Yeah.
And then I realized that like I needed to kind of sit down with like some really standard like Lester Young, Charlie Parker stuff, and kind of figure out exactly how a lot of that stuff went together.
Yeah. Sorry, my brother is being a dickhead right now. He knows I'm live streaming, and he's just calling me.
My brother.
Do you
is
hear
being
this
a
like
dick.
6 times over in a row?
My brother is being a dickhead right now. I'm sorry.
Like literally.
It's okay.
He just tried me like 6 times in a row. So sorry about that.
It's okay. It's okay. I think it wasn't until, well, I think there's like, I think the ability to learn a specific line, whether it's from like a Charlie Parker head or a Charlie Parker solo, and then understand what kind of chord it goes over, and probably more importantly, where it fits in the time. And then try to say, okay, that's a resolution. So like how do I get as much out of this line as possible? And a lot of that process for me was trying to play the same line over as many resolutions as I could in a certain tune. Like take something like if we're in the key of just playing like a C major 7 chord, right?
Okay.
So what about something like this? So I'm outlining a G7 flat 9. So I'm playing, so 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm kind of playing like, you know, a G7 arpeggio from the B, D, F, G. And I'm doing this real kind of, you know, standard resolution point that, you know, like you end up hearing from a lot of musicians of the bebop era. So that would be, you know,
Do the third.
yeah, exactly. Okay. So if I took a tune like let's say I played There Will Never Be Another You in the key of E flat.
Okay.
The chord changes for that go E flat, C minor, and then 2-5 again, A flat. Oh, I'm sorry. Wait. Sorry.
Dude, no worries, man.
I lost my place. And C minor, B flat, E flat, A flat minor, E flat, C7, F7, F minor, B flat 7. Okay, so I would take a line like, and I would try to play that over every dominant chord in that tune,
Okay.
because every dominant chord is going 5-1.
Yeah.
Now, if we just kind of change that line a little bit, right, to where it ends on the minor third rather than the major third, right? E flat over C minor.
Yeah.
If we're able to do that, then we have twice as many permutations of the lick as we had before.
Fair enough.
So that's, you know, that's a way of doing it. So I would start the thing by thinking, okay, what's the 5 chord of E flat? You got B flat, dominant 7. So as a pickup to the E flat, I would try to play it, you know, going to the E flat. So if it goes 1, 2, 3, 4. And then here's a G7 chord. C minor.
Right.
And now I'm going to play a B flat. Now I'm going to play it over E flat. C7. F7. F minor. Here's a B flat 7. So I guess I just played it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, in 5 different, keys and in 5 different, kind of permutations. So what I would then do is I would try to improvise around that. And I would try to say, okay, I'm going to try to play a melody and then I'm going to return to that line. So 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, you're throwing that little motif in there everywhere. That's a good thing to work on.
Yeah. So I guess, it's the same way with learning like a country lick over a 12, okay. So if I did the same thing, right? And I tried to say, okay, I'm going to use a certain kind of pedal steel bend to try to do the same thing.
Yeah.
What would be a good example? Okay, so I'm gonna take kind of the same example with the steel bend, but as opposed to going, I'm gonna go.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
I'll do the exact same thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Excuse me. So yeah, I mean it's kind of that same approach, and what makes playing jazz, in my opinion, so hard, that it's like, if you don't learn a bunch of the standard vocabulary, and you aren't able to say like, okay, this is Charlie Parker and this isn't, then it's gonna kind of sound like you're playing a bunch of scales over a bunch of chord changes. And it's like, and like, even if you do that really well, there was kind of always, there was kind of like always this feeling like, I don't know. I was under the illusion that I could like practice my way to the other side. I could just play other scales and, get the metronome out and kind of, work on my arpeggios, and it would kind of work. But it just got to this, it just got to the certain point where, like, if you just play pentatonic scales, it's not really gonna sound like you're playing blues. And
Right.
if you just play major pentatonic scales, it's not going to sound like you know how to play country.
Right.
And if you just have an acoustic guitar and you strum a G chord, it's not really going to sound like you like know how to play bluegrass either.
Right.
So I think what was like, even though I'm not really a quote unquote jazz guitarist, as a like, I wouldn't really describe myself as a jazz guitarist, like, it really, really helped with like trying to decipher like what's the most important thing. And that kind of attention to detail has really helped me when trying to play country.
Yeah.
Because, it's the same kind of thing. I was like, yeah, I'm just gonna, bend a bunch of strings and pop a bunch of notes, and then I'll sound like I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And then I ran into the same problems. I was like, oh yeah, okay, so I need to like really go back to like the Merle Haggard records and Buck Owens records, and if I play the melodies that are on those records, then it's gonna sound like I know what I'm doing, because like a lot of those melodies and those phrases are really specific.
Yeah.
Like when you hear like, that, Mama Tried, and like Roy Nichols comes in, and it's like, that's what it is,
Yeah. There it is. Yep. Yep.
And it's not,
No.
but I don't know. Like,
No. That's absolutely true. And what you said is so honest. Like, it just being that the intent is different when you're playing different things. Like the theory may be malleable and might change a little bit, but your intent is a little different. And I think you summed it up best there at the very end, that learning the traditional melodies, and like the actual specific memorable lines, which kind of, like you said, the Build the Ride kind of made that genre, is how you do it,
Oh
Like,
yeah.
and that's how you build vocabulary in different genres. It's learning from the people that made the ride, like you said. I think you said it perfectly.
Yeah, right on. I mean, it's also super interesting. Like, I have a lot of students where I'm sure you have this. I'm sure you have like this same experience. Like, there are just certain things that like they don't know about the guitar, I'm just like, I can just kind of tell that they haven't learned certain songs. Like,
Yes.
you know, like if they don't know that you can move this D shape around, I immediately know that like they don't know Over the Hills and Far Away.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, or like
That
you
Neil
know,
Young song. What the hell's that?
oh yeah, so like you know, just
Yeah.
like so you know, there's a part of me. It's not really learning your triads. It's like it's learning that song. And if
Yeah.
you learn that song, that little connection,
You get it. You're gonna get that.
yeah. So I think with like I think with just the whole thing of like studying and transcribing, it's just it sounds like a different process than just learning how to play guitar.
Yeah.
And I feel like you know, like if you never learn The Wind Cries Mary, then like you might not know that you can,
Right.
you know. So it's just all those little things. It's like it's not exactly like, oh, you can take the major pentatonic scale and then, you know, create these little triads and then move them chromatically. Like it wasn't explained to me like that. It was like I'll do anything to be able to play that song,
Yeah.
you know.
I-
And so
get
yeah.
Another question for you. Then we'll go into another track here.
Sure.
Mr. Tonic Amps, one of our mods, said Brian has a question. Says, how do you approach arranging songs for solo guitar? For example,
yeah.
your version of Ripple,
Sure.
which I have not seen.
Right on. Well, I could play a little bit if you want.
Sure.
Sure. So I'll play a little bit and I'll talk about it.
Well, while you tune that, everybody, welcome again. We have Lyle Brewer with us from Neighbor. I've been just plugged into what he's been saying. I've been seeing the comments just on fire on the side. Mods, thank you for all that you're doing. Yeah, we got all the crowd here. Love it.
Cool.
All right.
All right, cool. So I'll play a little bit of this arrangement.
All right, let me put you on solo.
Cool.
Bam.
All right, here we go. Get my stand out of the way. Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah, man. So I think like I would say the most important thing is trying to figure out what key is gonna be best for the song.
Right.
And that has to do with two things. Usually the range of the melody, and then what is happening down low in the bass.
Yeah.
And for a song like this, even though it's in the key of G, you know, like if I were to, you know, kind of try and get up there and get that major third, it would make me play it in a way that was really uncomfortable.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I could do it. You know, but all of a sudden it's like feels a lot more like an exercise than a song.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that I found that I got a lot better at it once I started thinking about it like I'm working with the guitar and not against it. I think at first, just because there's so many technical things to address, you know, with the right hand especially, you know, I'm just like I've always kind of had that relationship with music where, you know, if something was difficult, I would just kind of, you know, just kind of put your head down and do it,
Yeah,
and
muscle through it.
yeah, just be like, oh, I guess I'm gonna have to play this 500 times before I get it. Cool, 1, 2, you know, and it's like that's always just kind of been my approach. But like, I realized that like sometimes that would get in the way of things actually sounding good.
Yeah.
And you know, I'm not trying to play music like I'm playing a recital and people are impressed. I'm trying to just make as good a musical experience as possible. And once I started doing that, a lot of things kind of started to come together with the arranging thing. I think a lot of it just has to do with, just trying to figure out what's gonna be best for the music. And a lot of that just has to do with like the changing the keys of the songs, like when I did Friend of the Devil, I played it in G, but I ended up dropping the E string down to D because I really wanted the chorus to feel better.
Yeah.
And, and by doing that, it made it so,
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome.
so it just like, I ended up getting the drop D thing because when it goes to the chorus, I really wanted to have this nice, like kind of made sixth version. And when you have the D in the bass, then you get to really just focus on the melody, and you don't have to do this like kind of gymnastic interpretation. Because then I can just kind of play the open strings and worry about the melody. So like by making it easier, I ended up making it sound a lot better.
Yeah, I when Mike Dawes was on the channel with us, and I'm sure you've seen some of his solo arrangements of all his crazy stuff that he does.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
He said something similar where basically he doesn't start with the tune, or he doesn't start with the guitar and try to apply the tune to the guitar.
Right.
But like he starts with the tune, and how can he adapt to the tuning and everything on the guitar to fit that tune? So he could change the key or whatever, but it's not like this is fixed and we have this thing in our ear our head that we hear, and we got to try to get it. Like we can change all of this to achieve that one goal. That's something that I've never honestly really tried to do and figure out solo arrangements like that. But I understand what you're saying. That makes perfect sense why you would do that.
Yeah, man.
One more question, then we'll get back to the music.
Sure.
Tom Haviland threw in $5. Thank you, Tom. He said, I see you did a Pixies cover. Can you tell me about that?
Sure. Yeah, we were. When did we play that? During the pandemic, our band had a bi-weekly live stream at this wonderful venue in Pembroke, Mass. Called Soundcheck Studios, and during that time, it was just, it was like it was kind of a scary time. It was kind of a scary time to be out playing music, technically they were gigs, but we're playing to a venue that can hold 500 people and there's no one there.
Yeah.
And
Weird.
at the same time, it felt like amazing to actually play.
Yeah.
And I think that we really kind of tried to utilize the opportunity to really kind of see what we were capable of. I think something that makes Neighbor such a joyous thing to be a part of is that it is almost like dependent on people taking a lot of chances, a lot of risks, and
I love that.
And I think that I think it's kind of easy, when you get, when you become a professional musician to kind of have things be like, be a little bit more calculated and a little bit more, like we have to do exactly this because this is what people are expecting. I think it's really, it was really important for us to just, really follow like the muse, and I think one of the things that's cool about the band too is like, if someone has an idea for a cover, it's like 99% people will go, yeah, sure.
love that.
And it's not too much like, oh, well, like, what does that mean for the marketing and the branding of the band? It's like, well, if you feel like doing it, then
Let's go.
if you feel strongly that you should express yourself over that tune, then do it. And it just so happened that so our keyboardist and lead vocalist was the one who suggested the song, but it turns out that our bass, Richard suggested the tune, but our bass player had actually been singing it solo acoustic for, I don't know, like 5 or 10 years. So we showed up to the venue and we rehearsed it, and our bass player belted it out, and we're like, yeah, like, I think you should sing it.
He's like, I got this one. This one. Love it, man. All right, let's get back to your tracks here. Next one, can we do this Danny Gatton one?
Sure.
So, I think everybody out there watching knows who Danny Gatton is. I mean, we all love Danny. I don't know if I've seen this clip.
It's crazy. It's really wild.
But let's fire it up here. But yeah, give us your 2 cents on why you picked this one, or what Danny means to you, or how you got into Danny.
Sure. I picked this clip because Danny really kind of changed my whole idea of like what was possible on the guitar. And he has this like fearless, like, no matter what, I'm gonna figure this out attitude. And it really kind of gave me strength to like see some musical things through, whether it was like kind of learning how to do the country thing and the string bending thing. And I mean, to a certain extent, even doing the solo guitar thing, like, Danny didn't seem like there was anything that could stop him from learning how to do something.
Yeah.
And I really identify with that, like, and as someone who just kind of spent, hours and hours trying to figure things out on guitar, like, when I saw this banjo clip, I really did think that anything was possible, because it's that incredible.
He was that way in other aspects of his life too. Like, I believe he would go through these obsessive periods about his old cars, where he would not play guitar for like a couple years, like, and just work on these old cars and not go back to making an album or whatever until he got this singular car like running again. Like,
yeah. It's wild. It's wild.
Wild.
Yeah, it's like something out of a comic book or something. Like, he was talking about his 1953 Telly, and I think it was a thing where like he sold like a 51 Chevy or something to get it.
Yeah.
And I'm just like who does that? Like,
so I'm from the, Baltimore, DC metro area.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, and so obviously I never got to see him, but I know many people that did,
Yeah.
And he has a legendary status amongst musicians everywhere, but around here he has a tremendously legendary status.
I'm sure he does.
And there's so many stories like that. But I mean, everybody said that he was just the most aggressive, loud, just head cutter of a player that
Right.
you would just ever see. Like, I know he would only play with bands. You would never see him just sit up there with an acoustic or do any solo stuff. Like, he always was full volume all the time. Ice picky as all get out when he wanted to be, but super smooth when he needed to be.
Man.
A lot of these old videos don't have great audio quality, but I love talking to the older players in this area that have seen him, because they the amount of reverence is just magical, and they all have incredible stories about him.
Right. Yeah, and I also think that there was also something about those guys existing in like the pre-internet era.
Yes. Yes.
And he's right in that kind of sweet spot where like he was popular enough where people heard about him, but he wasn't he wasn't quite so popular that you would like see him on TV.
Right.
So you're like, okay, well, that means I have to kind of cross state lines to find one of his records, or like, it's just it's wild, man. The other thing I'll say about Danny too is like he is like so many of the kind of, I don't know, like helly-ish things that you see people do. Immediately you can tell if someone watched his instructional. Yeah, like his DVD. Like, there are just certain things like, like
Yeah.
that's just straight off him, that's just something I learned off of his instructional DVD. So it's like,
You have a good memory, man.
cool to like, like it's cool to like, meet other players, and it's like, like it's nice when you hear things and you go, oh yeah, I was watching that DVD too. So I don't know, it's interesting.
No, it's awesome. Guys, everybody, thank you so much. Thank you so much for watching. We got a lot of people watching, a lot of people loving the stream. Really appreciate it. Chris, Mr. Tonic, yeah, infamous.
Yeah, right.
All right, here we go. Let's bring it up here.
Man,
Giving us some banjo picking.
this is crazy.
See, you'd pretend those were strings,
Yeah.
and you practice your rolls.
I would.
Right in the car. That's great.
Worked.
Yeah, apparently.
So I'm getting ready to buy another one so I can practice some more.
And then, and you've transferred almost all your banjo licks to guitar, right? You can play them just as well with a flat pick and three fingers as you can with a thumb pick and the finger picks.
Yeah, I can play banjo this way with flat picking fingers. Doesn't sound as good, but I can't play guitar very well with banjo picks on. For some reason, that doesn't work for me. Works great for Eddie Adcock because he's the greatest banjo player in the world. But in my case, no. So, yeah, but there's a lot of banjo things you can learn. Well,
So just real quick, he's tuning that E down to D there. So he's putting it
Yep.
into a banjo tuning right now for everybody
Yeah.
that's watching. Yeah.
Yep.
like, bluegrass, right?
Bluegrass.
We gotta watch that one again, man. You gotta watch that little part again.
It's crazy.
Like, bluegrass,
Yeah,
right?
Bluegrass.
Yeah, dude.
It's crazy.
He is unbelievable. Yeah, I don't remember if it was him or whatever, but it was him. Like doing that like a triplet set on the first two string sets. Like all those types
Yeah,
of
yeah.
things. If
Yeah,
you
yeah.
just like
Yeah, like there's
that
there's
stuff.
like there's like a couple different ones that like he does on that DVD.
yeah.
One of them is one that I play all the time. It goes so there's that one, and then there's sorry.
Yeah.
So that's from
Like the tremolo, like on the lower note of the triad, like for everything, like the
yes. So it's yeah. So like I do it like down up down and then second finger hybrid,
yeah.
or you can
Yep.
go.
Yeah.
But that's that's also from there's a Don Rich who was the Buck Owens guitar player. There's a bunch of instrumental stuff that he did, and there's a song called Chicken Pickin', and it goes yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or no. Sorry.
There it is.
So all that kind of stuff. So it's like, yeah, man.
Yeah.
So it's it's interesting. Like when I first heard Danny do that stuff, I was like, oh my god, that's the greatest Danny Gatton lick ever.
Yeah.
And then you put on
You realize he pulled it and changed it a little bit for something else.
yeah, and the more I got into Danny, the more I realized that he knew all the vocabulary. And
look,
I think that
your band is in the chat here.
Oh, nice. Hey.
You're coming to Baltimore in October, huh?
I was not aware of that, but yeah.
I will not be a stranger. I will gladly come out. Anyway, what were you
they
saying?
keep me in the dark.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. Yeah, I mean, it's just, I think that's what, it's interesting with Danny. I think people, it's like, it's almost like you get into them because you can't realize, it's incredible, like how, kind of fast and technically difficult it is.
Yeah.
And then the more you listen to it, you're like, I think I like this because it's actually just every great melody that I've ever heard.
Yes. Yes. He was incredibly melodic. And yeah, he would always throw in little pieces of something, from different decade, just like a little piece, and then bring it back. He was an absolute encyclopedia.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Huge Danny Gatton fan.
Yeah, he's great.
All right. Anybody else have any questions here? Anything they want to talk to Lyle about? Lyle, you have one more track that you brought. I don't want to keep you all night.
No, it's all good, man. I'm having a good time.
Well, I'll tell you what, man. While people may grab their questions before we do the last one here, let's actually talk about Neighbor and about the band.
Sure.
I was telling you this before, and I said I wanted to save it for the live stream because I think it's important.
Yeah.
One of the things that I have learned over the years, to really pay attention to, because people are always throwing music at you. Check this out, check that player out, whatever. And
Right.
it's an absolute bombardment. But I really pay attention to not necessarily the amount of fans that a band has or how many, whatever, but the actual depth of how much the people really love the music that they love. And man,
Yeah.
I'm telling you, everybody that sent me Neighbor, right, and sent
Yeah.
me you, no one just sent me one sentence with like a link, right?
Right.
Everybody has a story. They want to make sure that I know how much they love the band, like, and make a point. And like, you guys
Right.
have a really, really strong, engaged, passionate group of fans.
Yeah.
And that is rare. That is like, you guys, it really shined through to me. So I'd love to hear
Awesome.
you speak on that and your take on it, because people love you guys, and it seems to me like, I know the pandemic screwed everybody up, but you're kind of picking up steam and steady rolling and gathering more and more people as
Yeah,
the
for
train
sure.
goes down the road, and it just seems to be the same kinds of people,
Right.
you know?
Yeah, man. I mean, well, I agree with everything you said. It's the amount of love and support and attention and
Yeah,
and energy and enthusiasm that the neighbor fans have
yeah,
and that they give to us is like totally unlike anything I've ever been a part of. And they really do it all, man. Like they are willing to take any kind of ride that we want to bring them on. Yeah.
Jess, we sent
Yeah,
a plane.
we sent a plane for. Yeah, that's a good
Is that
example. Yeah. So, if for anyone who doesn't know the story, so when we played Peach Fest, when we played Peach Fest, one of our fans, Chaz rented Chaz hired a company to fly a plane over the festival that said, "Come see this band play. They're on this stage at this time."
See,
It's crazy.
That's what I'm talking about, man. Like, that does not surprise me from the tone of the messages I've received from people trying to get me to know about your band. Like, that does not surprise me. I just,
Right.
and I know that depth with your fan base has got to make all the difference. It just has to.
Yeah. Well, I think the fans are passionate for a number of reasons. One, they are so into the experience of going to shows.
Yeah.
It's like like it occupies kind of a different place in their lives than than the average music fan. I think that there are a lot of people who have other people telling them about the good old days, seeing Fish at actors, or kind of like seeing the Grateful Dead in the 70s or whatever.
Yeah.
And I think for the people who come to see us, like a lot of those people are have been seeing us since there were like 10 or 20 people in the audience.
Yeah.
And I think that we really we as a band try to really go out of our way to make each show a good experience for them. I think that, like, for example, like on Halloween a couple years ago, we had like a Christmas themed show on Halloween, and we did something where we the show after that, we had there's this thing that happens every year in Boston called the Boston Music Awards.
Mm-hmm.
And rather than kind of participate, we decided to have our own award show, and we like gave awards to all the fans, and we just like just because
Yes.
just because like we're in a position where our band has been able to grow both artistically and from a numbers perspective, just because like people are so incredibly enthusiastic about
Yeah.
coming to the show. They know everything about the band. They go on social media and they constantly are talking us up, man.
Yeah, they're juicing you up, man, for sure.
It's awesome. And I think that, like, I think I mean, it's, I've been thinking about this recently. It's like, I think for me, I've always kind of like held on to guitar playing and held on to music in a very kind of like personal way,
Yeah.
and I think a part of that is because, you know, I, you know, I spend a lot of time just like by myself playing guitar.
Yeah.
And what the fans have kind of taught me is that like it's almost as if like they've kind of let me share the experience, and I don't really. It's almost like the music. I don't kind of feel like it's so kind of like held tightly to my chest anymore. I feel like, if we play a show, I'm not so focused on like my own experience and kind of like what I get out of it.
Yeah.
I'm looking out at, someone having a great time. I'm looking out at, someone who maybe, brought one of their friends for the first time.
Yeah.
It's almost like I don't really think the band like belongs to me. I feel like the band kind of belongs to everyone who's involved in it. And there's there's only four of us, and there's a lot more of them, than there are of us. And I think that's just like allowed me to kind of participate in music in a different way, and it really came at the right time, because I don't know, man, like playing with that band, it's a wonderful experience, and I really love it.
It must be. It must be. I mean, just that, the few things that I've seen in the wildly different genres and vibes that you guys are doing, it just looks like you're having so much fun, and everyone's so proficient and loose and pushes each other, but then leaves space but going back to the audience, man, and the community, that really, really resonates with me. From in my own little lane, I'm doing something a little different, but it's so easy to compare yourselves to these huge channels and these huge personalities and things that they have going on. But man, I wouldn't give up the depth of community that we have here for the width of all of that for any day. Like what you said, where I feel like, where you feel like, this band is really all of ours. It's not just the four of ours. Right. I kind of feel that way too with this kind of internet thing that I've chosen to build, and the kind of the path that I've chosen with my life. So like I said, when I encounter extremely passionate fans that communicate in that deep way that I recognize, I really pay attention to what's going on there, because those things are few and far between. And you guys have one of those. You do.
Right.
And it's a big deal.
Yeah, man. Yeah, dude, it's like it doesn't come around that often.
Yeah.
It's interesting, like what you said about like depth. It's like I don't really want to so like one of two of neighbors' biggest fans are these this guy Tom and Sonia, and when we kind of sit down to write a set list for the night, like I'm not really thinking, like I'm not trying to think about like what's gonna necessarily extend our reach. I'm trying to think about what do I think Tom and Sonia are gonna think is cool.
Yes.
And it's like as long as you kind of try to keep making like your hardcore fans like having a great experience, I feel like that just I feel like it goes a long way. And I also feel like fans can tell the difference.
Of course they can.
Like fans can tell if you're in it for them or if you're in it for you.
Yeah.
And that's always been like the MO for us, man.
All right. Well, dude, I love it. So if you guys are coming through in November, I will definitely come out and I will be there.
Right on. Yeah.
And I would love,
I think it's like early
hopefully-
October, maybe.
or October, whatever it was.
Yeah.
And if you guys would love to do I don't know what the schedule would permit, but you guys would be more than welcome to come and do a stream on the channel. I know we kind of
Sure, I'd
flirted with
love
the
to.
idea up here, play some music up here in the barn. Like,
Sure, man.
I'd love to.
Cool. Man.
Last question, then we'll play our last track.
Sure.
Mr. Tonic, one of our fearless mods, wants to know who bought the Nola Funk to Neighbor.
Who brought the Nola Funk? Well, our piano player and lead singer, this guy Richard James.
Yeah.
He's really into that stuff. Like, he's a kind of a student of New Orleans music. I can't say I know nearly as much about it as he does.
It really
you know,
is its
like,
own genre.
Yeah, man. Just from a lot of different ways, from like harmonically and the way that those cats like
The
feel
rhythm,
the
man,
beat,
the swing
and
is,
yeah, it's like a whole other thing, you know. And,
it is a whole other thing.
Yeah.
Just
So
kind of
I-
like New Orleans itself it is America, but not quite. You know, it's like it's more like a third world country vibe than any other part of America, but it's still America. And the music and the food reflect that.
Yeah, man. I mean, there's such a rich, like there's such like a richness to the music down there. I just feel like it's kind of, man, I could start learning about it now, and I feel like I could spend the rest of my life, you know, just trying to figure out all the different nuances of all the guitar playing and those, I can
Or
those
horn
kinds of
parts.
situations.
You can pick anything. You know?
Oh my God, it's amazing.
Yeah.
It's incredible, you know, and I feel like yeah. So you know, our keyboardist, you know, brings like a lot of that energy to the band, and
Yeah.
we just kind of do our best to I don't know, try not to screw it up, I guess.
I hear you. Well, dude, this has been fun, man. I really appreciate you being on here. You have one more video, and
Yeah.
you want to tell us why you picked this one?
Sure. Yeah. So you know, probably my biggest influence on the guitar is this guy Duke Levine in Boston, like we were talking about earlier.
Right.
And you know, I think there's a lot of ways of kind of making a, you know, a joyous musical experience, I guess. And I've never, and I kind of realized at some point that like I wasn't gonna be like the fastest or the most technical or playing the most difficult stuff, but you know, like every time it kind of came to like if there was an opportunity to kind of play something that could be like you know, if I got to try to make something beautiful, I always really enjoyed that, and I think just like the more comfortable I got, like I wasn't kind of afraid to play that way, you know, and you know, like I like things that are kind of simple and straightforward, but I think some of those things are the most beautiful.
Absolutely.
And that's something I've been chasing for a long time. So I think this this solo guitar version of Across the Universe by Duke really it's a great example of that. Like he's playing an open D. It's not the craziest, hardest thing he could play on guitar, but man, like it's just about as moving as it gets.
All right. Well, we will play this, and it will take us out. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for subscribing. Everybody that donated, really appreciate you. Everybody that shared, really appreciate you. And be sure to give Lyle a follow on Instagram. I'm going to link up his band Neighbor Tunes on Instagram and also on YouTube here. So when the stream's over, I'll drop links in the description. But mods,
Thank
I know that you're welcome. And mods, I know that you've been sharing them along the way. Thanks for all you do. Thanks for keeping this place safe and positive and fun. And I've missed you guys. It's been a squirrely December, but you know, we're back at it.
Yeah,
and
man.
Lyle, man, just thank you so much.
Oh, dude, absolutely. Well, I mean, you know, like I think everything that you do for the whole community of guitar players, man, it's really really cool. You know, I think that there's
Thanks, brother.
you have a very like you have a very egalitarian way of talking about things that might like it would be easy for you to understand things and kind of like talk over people, or kind of like I think the way that you break things down that are technically very difficult, and the way you explain them to your audience, like I think it's like I think you're doing like a great service to the guitar community, man. And like I'm super grateful and super thankful that you did the video last year of Neighbor,
Yeah.
and for like having me on today, man. So like I really appreciate the opportunity to come on here.
Dude, you made my day. Thank you, man. I really appreciate it. And
Yeah, of course, man.
and we'll talk afterwards a little bit. But
Cool.
yeah, we'll definitely stay in touch. We'll definitely do more. We'll get together in person and all those fun things.
Cool. Thanks,
And
man.
and I'm excited to meet some of the neighbors out of the show, man. I got a good
Yeah,
feeling
man.
about this.
Yeah, man. Of course.
All right, so let's bring this up. This is Across the Universe, Duke Levine. Ladies and gentlemen, have an excellent evening. I love you all. Talk to you soon. And just remember, just keep picking it up every day. Keep it in your hands. Just try to get a little bit better. Days
Yeah.
turn into weeks, turn into months, turns into years. Wonderful. All right, hang tight. See you, everyone.